am Malenia, Blade of Miquella. And I have never known defeat. In this world, awash in grace, my very birth seemed an error. My brother, Miquella, and I, we are the children of Queen Marika the Eternal and her second Elden Lord, Radagon. We were called the Empyrean Twins, born into this world with the noble status of demigods. But who could have known that behind this divine blessing lay the most venomous of curses? As the product of a single god's self-union, my brother Miquella was trapped by a curse of eternal childhood, forever bound within a child's form. And I was born bearing the scarlet rot, enduring an unceasing erosion that gnawed at me from within. That rot clung to my very bones, a canker devouring my young body without cease. I could feel my own limbs decaying, vanishing inch by inch. Even my eyes were mercilessly stolen by the rot. They say the scarlet rot is a power from an outer god, one who existed in the lands between long before the Golden Order, and I was chosen to be its vessel. Whenever my will falters, whenever my body and mind are on the verge of collapse, that power erupts from within me, blooming into a great scarlet flower. Upon the third bloom, I will become the goddess of rot in truth and drag the whole of the lands between into a scarlet abyss. There was a time I nearly yielded to despair. The rot I was born with has never known respite. In that endless pain and darkness, death seemed the only release. But my brother Miquella did not abandon me. To find a cure for our curses, Miquella delved deep into the power of the Golden Order. Yet the deeper he searched, the more he despaired. The foundation of Golden Order fundamentalism is regression and causality. Even its incantations, which could cleanse any ailment, could not halt my rot, for the scarlet rot is a part of my very being. The Golden Order is perfect and exclusionary. It has no place for a flaw such as I. For this, Miquella abandoned the Golden Order he had believed in his entire life and sought instead to create a new order of unalloyed gold, one that would embrace all things. Miquella fashioned for me a prosthetic arm and leg that I might walk and fight once more. With wisdom that could rival a god's gods, he forged the unalloyed gold needle to suppress the scarlet rot within me. Miquella did not cure me. He gave me a reason to live and the purpose to resist my curse. With his love and his wisdom, he plated this decaying body of mine in gold. From that moment, my life was no longer my own. I would live as the Blade of Miquella, to carve a path for my brother toward a new age. To no longer rely on the Erd Tree as a foundation, Miquella resolved to use his own power to create a new tree for his new order. We left Leyndell, the royal capital, and chose the depths of the consecrated snowfield to the north as our new home. Miquella watered a sapling of the Halig tree with his own blood, waiting for it to grow into a presence that could supplant the Erd Tree. Miquella's compassion drew many creations not accepted by the Golden Order. The cursed misbegotten, the Albanorics deemed impure, all beings seen as flaws could find a sanctuary here. And during this time, I met a teacher of great importance to me. He was a blind swordsman, a legendary figure who had sealed away the god of rot in an ancient era. He sensed within me the same rot that flowed through his sworn enemy, but more than that, he sensed my resolve to resist the rot. He passed his flowing sword technique unto me. Through the flowing dance of the blade, again and again, I felt I could gradually suppress the scarlet rot within. After this, I devoted all my being to the practice of the sword until I reached its zenith. I wove my own understanding of the blade into his flowing sword technique and created a skill that leaps as a water bird, a flurry of high-speed slashes the waterfowl dance. In time, I came to be known as the undefeated Valkyrie. This title was not to satisfy my own vanity, but to prove that Michaela's faith in me was not misplaced. To be the blade of Miquella is to have never known defeat. My renown soon drew many knights to my side. Though they knew their flesh would slowly rot away, these clean-rot knights chose to fight alongside me. When I looked at them, I saw myself. They concealed their decaying bodies with gleaming armor, just as I concealed my inner rot with golden prostheses. Between us, there was an unspoken, tragic bond. Their loyalty was my pride, and also a heavy sorrow. We were companions, walking toward the same distant light from beneath the shadow of the rot. But the peaceful days were fleeting. In a terrible conspiracy, all order fell to ruin. My parents suddenly vanished, and the Elden Ring was shattered with them, its fragments the great runner scattered amongst the demigods. That moment seemed the perfect chance to overthrow the Golden Dynasty. To clear the path for my brother's new order, I immediately led my army south, joining with Radan and Ricard to form a host of generals, and we marched upon Leyndell, the royal capital. The war was long, until a conspiracy changed everything. Word came from the Haligtree. Miquella, slumbering at its base, had been abducted by Molg, Lord of Blood, his whereabouts unknown. The moment I heard this news, everything lost its meaning. The shattering, the royal capital, the order, all became meaningless. I withdrew from the host at once and led all my knights back to the Haligtree. But I was too late. All that greeted me was the great, hollowed-out cocoon at the base of the Haligtree. It was then that I recalled Miquella's plan before he was taken. To become a god, he required the aid of a lord, and the lord he had chosen was my half-brother Radan. In our youth, Miquella had seen the makings of a lord in Radan. His strength and his gentleness were qualities we, in our fragility, did not possess. And for Radan to become the promised lord, he must first be freed from his fleshly bonds, so that his soul could return to the Erdtree. And so, I once again led my army south to see that Radan fulfilled his vow to my brother, Miquella. The end of this journey was destined to be a tragedy from which there was no escape. When I arrived in Limgrave, that pathetic grafted Godric blocked my path. Perhaps he sought to claim my great rune, or perhaps to prove his own laughable valor. I can scarcely be bothered to recall the details of the fight. It was not a battle, merely the clearing of an obstacle. His hideous form, pieced together from countless limbs, was as nothing before my blade. Godric's army collapsed in an instant. He knelt before me, weeping and wailing, and kissed my cold, golden feet to beg for his life. I spared him, not from mercy, but because he was too small. To kill him would only tarnish my blade. At last, on the wastes of Caelid, I met Radan, but he seemed to have no intention of honoring his vow to Miquella. On the barren plains of Aeonia in Caelid, the clean-rot knights and Radan's valiant Redmane army clashed in a war that shook the heavens. Both sides gave their all, yet we remained locked in a stalemate. Finally, I stood before Radan myself. It was a true duel between demigods. To this day, I can still feel his overwhelming strength and the gravity magic that could halt the very stars. He was a worthy warrior, a true hero. There was no hatred between us. I even held him in esteem. Yet, I carry within me a reason I absolutely cannot lose. After a long battle, neither of us could defeat the other. And so, I made the most terrible decision of my life, one I had resisted with all my being. I did not evade Radan's attack, but allowed him to sever my prosthetic arm. I leapt upon his shoulder and pierced us both with the blade in my hand. I leaned down and whispered in his ear, "Miquella awaits thee, O promised consort." For victory, and to fulfill my promise to Miquella, I had to unleash the forbidden power within me. The scarlet flower bloomed upon Radon's shoulder. An endless tide of scarlet rot swept across the battlefield like a tsunami, consuming everything. The land of Kylid, in that instant, was plunged into rot. This was not my intent, but it was the only way I could imagine to defeat him. I do not know if Radon truly died. I only know that he was driven to madness, and I, in the aftermath, fell into a deep slumber. Afterward, my most loyal and powerful clean-rot knight, Finlay, carried me from the battlefield with an act of unimaginable valor. She alone fought off all our foes and bore me on the long journey back to the Halig Tree. Then I waited in a long slumber, waited for Michaela's return, until an uninvited guest disturbed my repose. He was of the host of Elden Lord Godfrey, a tarnished who had lost the guidance of grace. But no matter who he was, no matter his purpose, I could not allow him to defile Michaela's promised land. Yet this tarnished skill was beyond my expectation. The power of the great runes flowed within him. His steps evaded my strikes, time and again. It had been long since I had faced such a powerful foe. I unleashed upon him my strongest technique, the waterfowl dance. Yet still, he dodged it with ease. I fell to his onslaught, fell in the very place I had waited for Michaela's return. No, I cannot lose yet. I cannot fall like this. Forgive me, my brother. This may be the last time. Blooming once more, I became the goddess of rot I had always resisted. The rot that had brought only pain was no longer a curse, but a power unimaginable and godlike. Every one of my attacks could inflict my foe with rot. The scarlet flowers I once shunned could now be released at will, wantonly, even if this was a sight Michaela would not wish to see, for the sake of my vow to not be unworthy of the name Blade of Michaela. I had no choice but to wager everything. But in the end, I was defeated at the hands of the Tarnished, and the power of rot that had tormented me my entire life was silenced with my death.
Oh, dear Michaela. Oh, dearest Michaela, my brother. I'm sorry. I finally met my man.